In biology, an organism resulting from the process of crossbreeding different genetic forms is called a hybrid. In the 1930s, naval shipbuilders came up with the idea of making their own hybrid by combining a battleship and a cruiser. The result of their efforts never received a generally accepted name, but does it really matter what it was called? Whether a heavy cruiser, battle cruiser, or Schlachtkreutzer? It's a far more important question to ask what it was capable of. You will almost certainly have met some of them already in the game, but now it's time to welcome our latest hybrid, Premium Tier 9 US cruiser Alläs카, to World of Warships. At the outbreak of World War II, United States Naval Command, set on countering German pocket battleships and heavy Japanese cruisers, developed a project to create the so-called large cruiser, which was to be cheaper than a high-speed battleship, while being only slightly inferior to it in terms of firepower. 10 days after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the lead ship of the new class, USS Alläská, was laid down at a New Jersey shipyard. Having a displacement of almost 35,000 tons and carrying 9 305mm guns in 3 turrets, she was a true steel monster. However, by the time she was commissioned in the summer of 1944, this behemoth had no one to test her strength against, and the combat application of Alläská was limited to bombarding islands and repelling kamikaze attacks. After the war, the cruiser was placed in reserve, only to be scrapped 13 years later. I'm sure it was a difficult decision, but whoever said that the history of this wonderful ship had to end there? USS Alläská, World of Warships welcomes you. So Alläská is a representative of a special type of ship, standing somewhere between a cruiser and a battleship. The advantages and shortcomings of both types are intertwined in Alläská to such a degree that it's very easy to miss some of her unique features at first glance, potentially causing you to miss out the unique experience that her vivid and exacting gameplay offers. Primarily, Alläská is a first-class hunter of cruisers. Her rather decent speed and powerful artillery, with excellent armor penetration and range of fire, allow you to dictate the terms of your engagement with the enemy. These advantages are further reinforced by the high chances of her high explosive shells causing fire and the ricochet angles of her armor-piercing shells being typical of US heavy cruisers, 22.5 degrees as opposed to the 30 that the overwhelming majority of other nations' cruisers have. However, this strength comes at a price, a long reload time of 20 seconds, but you can reduce this to 17 seconds by installing the appropriate upgrade. What about Alläská's protection? The ship's armor is, let's say, that of a cruiser on steroids. Her combat capability reserve of 60,800 HP allows you to plunge bravely into battle. Just don't do it all alone. Long battleship-like fires and weak anti-torpedo protection impose certain limits upon the degree of bravery that you can show. But you can stretch these a little by upgrading your survivability. Alläská is a team player that can assume the role of squadron leader. The anti-aircraft armament that this cruiser carries will allow Allied ships to keep their composure at the sight of approaching enemy aircraft. And the defensive AA fire consumable will boost their morale further still. Alläská's key feature is her ability to keep the enemy's heads down, decent maneuverability, and the hydroacoustic search and surveillance radar consumables make this ship a difficult target for destroyers, while the characteristics of her main battery shells force opposing cruisers to assume positions that minimize incoming damage but limit their movements. And if an enemy thinks that they will be able to turn around in the 20 seconds that Alläská needs to reload, well, they'd better have a citadel to spare. The important thing to know is this: Alläská is a unique ship, primarily conceived to destroy cruisers at an average distance of 10 to 15 kilometers. And she's really good at doing this. Plus, the increased profitability that her permanent camouflage grants in terms of credits and experience comes as a nice bonus. An opinion exists that Alläská was the most useless out of all the large warships built by the United States during World War II. And that might be the case if you think of her as a combat unit that lost its value. However, at the same time, she was the embodiment of a complex engineering idea that provided invaluable experience to naval shipbuilders. And in this capacity, she can be considered to be outstanding. I'm sure she will bring memorable victories to many of you in World of Warships. Good luck, captains.